Hey, you guys, welcome back to CBS Soap Dish Recap, where usually it's either myself or Keisha or Trish, where we recap both The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful. And it's just going to be me this week. It's a lot going on, and so we won't have Trish this week. And of course, you guys know that when it comes to Keisha, she is in deployment right now. So, welcome back, you guys. We got a lot to unpack this week with everything on both shows. I mean, it was a lot of drama, to say the least. So, normally what we do is we talk about The Young and the Restless first half of the show, and then the second half of the show is The Bold and the Beautiful, and then there is the segment where it's called Flip the Script, where if there's a particular storyline or scene that we wish we could change, this is where we flip the script. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into this recap. And I just want to send a big thank you to all of you guys who've been supporting us for the last about 2 or 3 seasons and everything. And I want to make sure that the background music is not as loud so you guys can hear me. But thank you guys so much for supporting us this last 3 years, 3 seasons, because we really enjoy it. And over on the YouTube side, thank you guys as well for listening to us every week and also for subscribing. So I really truly appreciate you guys supporting the channel. So I got to give love across the board here on the podcast and also on the YouTube side as well. So, without further ado, let's talk about what happened this week. So, I usually give a summary of each show and then we break down the storylines. So, for the week of April 11th on The Young and the Restless, Adam offered Ashland $500 million to walk away from Victoria and Newman Locke. After Victoria agreed to leave everything behind and start over with Ashland, he accepted Adam's deal. Then we had Diane. She checked into the Grand Phoenix under a fake name. And then we saw how Mariah and Tessa did set a wedding date. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this because it seemed like as much as they're trying to, make sure all storylines are maintained, we haven't seen much lately, if at all, of the Winters and the whole Chancellor situation. I know that's a pretty big storyline. There's probably more meat coming down the road with that storyline, so we'll have to wait. And then, of course, the biggest thing this week, as I said, has been this whole Ashland Locke thing. Um, However, them kind of squeezing in Mariah and Tessa to set the wedding date because it was so much more drama on the other side with the bigger storyline. It kind of overshadowed the Mariah Tessa wedding date thing. And I think they had little sprinkles of different things that popped in and out this week where, they had to pick a date and then they went and did this fashion show and bought all these clothes and then they had a conversation about whether or not to start to have a family. Now, the interesting thing about this particular episode that we saw is that remember with the whole kidnapping with Stitch and her, and while Mariah was carrying Abby and Chance's baby, she had became so connected to carrying Bowie, as she called him, that of course she was absolutely excited about having a child of her own. Now, the interesting thing about this episode is that unlike Tessa, who before was like, yeah, maybe we should slow our roll a little bit and kind of chill out and everything, and you know we saw the opposite this week. So what we saw was pretty much Mariah putting the brakes on the whole baby situation, right? And said, "Well, I don't know, it's gonna be a lot. We're trying to prepare for a wedding, and it's gonna be too much to go through adoption, and maybe they don't want to give it to us or whatever." And Tessa was the one like, "I think this is the right time. We should do it now." And I'm like, "Isn't that a switch?" So I found that pretty interesting how probably the better of 6 months ago, you guys, yeah, Mariah was all in. I mean, man, because she was so emotionally connected to Bowie that she wanted her own baby to fill that void. Now that it seems like she is healed from that or healing from that whole debacle. Now Tessa wants a child and she's not sure, meaning Mariah. So I don't know. We're gonna have to wait that out and see how that goes and whether or not you know, whether they turn this thing around. But I don't know. I'm wondering, it's got twist to this storyline. I know they're supposed to be planning on getting married on May 10th. I mean, not 10th, May 13th. But it's going to be interesting because I don't know. There's this other part of the storyline which I kind of think we got a preview to, which is Bray going out of town with Chelsea, and as we know, Jordi Villasuso, who plays um, Ray, he's leaving the show. So I don't know if something major is going to happen. I mean, that's Sharon's husband, and then you got Sharon's daughter, who's planning to get married in about what 3.5 weeks. Well, what's today? Yeah, we're in the middle of April, so the middle of May. So a little under a month, or about a month or so, you're planning a wedding. So it's going to be interesting on whether it's just two separate events or if they're going to tie this whole thing together. But I really truly think with everything that was going on between the whole Diane storyline and the Ashland Locke storyline, I kind of think that when they showed Mariah and Tessa, it was like I don't know, it was so overshadowed by the two bigger storylines. It was like they were using the Tessa Mariah storyline as a filler, just to kind of give us a little bit of a break from the drama of the other two. Now, hey, I don't have any problem with the other two storylines. So they didn't have to give me a break, but I also, want to make sure, of course, that the other actors and actresses also get some time on air as well. So we really didn't get to see a lot. We did get to see Lily and Billy, because Billy and his podcast, and we saw maybe a little teeny bit of Amanda as she was speaking to Phyllis, but yeah, we really didn't have too many big storylines but this one. So I kind of, like I said, I think this one kind of got overshadowed a bit. So we'll have to see. Is this something where they're going to tie in the wedding and the fact of Jordy, who plays Ray, leaving the show, and this whole trip with Chelsea and Connor to Chicago to see the Black Hawk. So we'll have to wait and see. All we can do is speculate. But yeah, I would be okay with a twist and turn in that too. So let's move on to another storyline. We're going to jump into these two biggest ones. I'm going to start out first with the Diane Jenkins storyline. I got to give it to, I can't think of the actor's name, and if you guys know in the comment section, drop it. I know who Robert Newman that plays, Ashland Locke, and we got Sheila. We know who she is. Um, Kimberlyn Brown. But I just, for the life of me, I'm just drawing a blank on the young lady who plays Diane. But she's doing a remarkable job. I'm liking where this storyline is going to go. So the thing with Diane this week and this whole thing with Jack and Phyllis, right? Jack told Diane back in LA last week that he was going to get in contact with Kyle, which he did, in which Kyle agreed to bring he and Harrison home, which would allow Jack kind of the opportunity to have some conversation, with Kyle to kind of prep him for what was next, which is that big bombshell of Diane Jenkins, which is Kyle's mom, that she's actually alive. Now, from what I understand, this was 10 years ago. So we're talking 2012 when she left the show. And remember, it was the whole whodunit storyline because everybody was a suspect. And she was bopped head with this big rock, And then, of course, we find out later, a couple weeks ago, that the Brooks tete-a-tete New Year's Eve lip locker, Deacon Sharp, was the one that saved Diane and patched her back up somehow. But okay, whatever. It would be interesting to tie, since Deacon Sharp is on screen on The Bold and Beautiful, and that Diane is actually coming from LA. Hello, to tie both of them two together and kind of cross some stuff up with the young Restless. I think that would be pretty darn interesting. But anywho, I digress. Um, but Diane took it upon herself to be very, very hasty, and under her name Taylor registered at Phyllis's hotel, and we saw that toward the end of the week because she wasn't going to stand idly by to, just wait in LA while Jack kind of, you know, finagle, prep Kyle for this whole thing. So she definitely wanted to stick her hand in the cookie jar somewhat to try to push this whole thing forward. Now I have seen Monday's episode. It's pretty interesting to say the least. I won't spoil it for you guys. I usually drop nuggets for those on my podcast. We have been doing that for a while, since 2019. If I see Monday's episode, I will drop a couple of nuggets. But I will say that stay tuned because this is going to be good on Monday for both storylines. So the Ashland Locke storyline and, the Diane Jenkins storyline too. But anywho, so Jack did come back home to have a conversation, let everybody know that Diane is alive, and everybody was like freaked out, like, oh my God, what? And because Ashley's home, and then we saw Tracy and Billy. And so, you know, um, they were pretty shocked, but half of the town is probably want to wring her neck. And especially after so many people were accused by the police for her murder, supposedly. Yeah, they're going to have a field day. That world is going to be rocked when they find out that Diane is actually alive. There was the other part of the conversation about Allie and how Jack is excited, and he compared her to Ashley working in chemical engineering or chemistry because of course Ashley is a chemist, and so the connection that they have there. So I don't know. I still think Ashley have doubts, right? Then there was the conversation with Jack and Tracy, because Jack was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to bring her home. I should bring her home when Kyle comes home, and she can meet everybody at the same time." And Tracy was like, "Are you sure you want to bring Allie in the middle of that bombshell?" Now, granted, I would say that Jack did tell Tracy that Allie does already know about Diane because they actually met. And it seems like from the last conversation that Allie had with Diane, that Allie was at peace with this situation, even though she knows not to trust her 100%. But she was happy to learn about Kyle, which is technically her That's her cousin, maybe? Yeah. Okay. Her uncle. I'm sorry, because Chemo and Kyle would be brothers through Jack. So yes, Kyle would be her uncle. So she was pretty excited about that to see pictures of him. So I don't know. I think if he did bring Allie to town with everything, it should be okay. She looks like a girl who can handle her own, you know. But of course, they want to protect her from the big bad Diane. So I can understand why Tracy would have brought that up, right? But um, I'm looking forward to that storyline. What do you guys think? Do you think that that would be huge? I honestly, because look like we're coming up on the brink of the whole end of the Ashland Victoria story. It would be very, very interesting if Ashland and Diane was to collaborate. Could you imagine they would turn Genoa City upside down? Seriously. So I don't know. We'll have to see because, like I said, look like there might be an in the future for the whole marriage of Ashland and Victoria. So I mean, if you put those two together, oh my God, they would run Genoa City off the map. And I would be here for it. So I don't know about you writers, if you do listen to the podcast or over here on the YouTube channel, I'm kind of sending you, subliminal messages. Hey, maybe we can get that for May sweeps. I don't know. Anywho, but I don't know. I think Allie would be okay, if she happened to come in. Plus, it would make for good TV as well. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. Um, but at the end of all of this, I'm curious to find out Kyle's response because, as much as they're opening the door for Kyle to know that his mom is alive, they're hoping, like Jack said, they're hoping that he probably would write her off and say, right off in the sunset, you left me for the past 10 years of my life. You didn't see me grow up. You didn't see me get married or whatever, and just, you know, write her off. But what if the twist is that he is happy that his mom is back and he wants Diane to be in his life? There's nothing the Abbotts could do. Absolutely nothing that the Abbotts could do. I mean, they could probably set boundaries when it comes to social gatherings or coming around the mansion or even coming up to Jabot or have any parts of Jabot. So I can understand that. But if Kyle is forgiving and he's just happy that his mom is alive and want to get to know her after she explained everything that has happened over the past 10 years, I wonder how would Tracy, Ashley, Billy, and Jack feel if Kyle wants Diane in her life? That would be interesting. So I'm looking forward to that piece of it to kind of see and gauge whether or not um, that will happen because they're trying to stop it from happening. They're opening the door, but they also don't want them to make a connection. But it's up to Kyle. At the end of the day, it's up to Kyle on what he wants to do and whether or not, because she has a grandson technically. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it. It kind of, like I say, the whole Ashland Locke storyline seems to be wrapping up. So we need something bigger to come behind that. If and maybe the Ashland storyline is not ending yet. We don't know, but even to bring her in, it would be absolutely awesome with her and Kyle and the Abbott. So I'm here for it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Oh yeah, stay tuned on Monday because as we know in Friday's episode, Diane did come into GC to Went out of suite at the Grand Phoenix, and you know Phyllis is not going to be happy about that one. So you guys got to stay tuned for that because that's pretty darn good, to say the least. So, all right. I think that's all that we had with that particular piece of the storyline because even though it was a big storyline that's kind of slowly evolving, we got just a little bit here and there this week. So it was kind of sprinkled throughout the week, right? So let's move into the biggest storyline of the week. So remember, the Newmans are trying their best to get rid of the infamous Ashland Locke. Especially after they found out that he's been using Victoria and the love that they have. Um, for him to sign, getting a piece of Ashley Newman and Newman Locke, um, getting a piece of Newman Locke, they want him out. He lied about his cancer. The man doesn't have cancer. The money that he, you know, put into this place down in Peru, and then, he had Michael Baldwin locked up in some crazy jail. So the Newmans are just over him. However, there is still a part of Victoria, seemingly, that she has a connection with him, and because of that connection, even though all of his lies are slowly coming to the surface, well, they're pretty much at the surface, as he's been exposed. Um, he actually still loves her, and she has feelings for him too. And the thing is, last week there was a plan kept in place by Victoria to throw Adam under the bus to be the sacrificial lamb for the Newman family, which I absolutely cannot stand. I hated that idea because it just had too many holes in it, and it was only predicated to the fact that Ashland will plant fake evidence. But some kind of way this week, it seemed like Ashton decided to grow somewhat of a distorted conscious because he decides that, you know what, no, I can't do it. It would be, I'm trying to be a changed man. And being a changed man, I don't want to have to plant evidence to try to show Adam as being the culprit. Because Victoria, that's gonna drag you down with me, and I don't wanna do that. And she's looking like, "Oh, wait a minute. Okay, he's not sticking to the plan." And that's the thing, the plan was only as good as all of the players play their role, right? So all of the Newmans were on board, Victor, Nikki, Nicholas, and Adam. They were definitely all on board to play their part. The problem is Ashland decided to not play the role. Now, granted, he didn't know that he was being set up, right? But when you're dealing with somebody that is, as Nikki described him as, a sociopath, and I think Victor, and I'm going to side eye Victor on this one, calling him a narcissist, right? When uh, Victor isn't that far off. So, I mean, he has a lot of nerve calling him a narcissist. But anyway, um, the thing is that he didn't go the route that everybody expected him to because they're going off of his past. Now, is he a creepy, crazy character? Absolutely. Is he an emotional manipulator? Absolutely. Is he a gaslighter? Absolutely. So they were hoping that he was going to do what a manipulative gaslighter do. Unfortunately, he was like, "Nah, I don't wanna do that." Somehow he miraculously grew a conscience and says, "Nope, you know what? I don't wanna play that game. How about we not?" So that left Victoria and pretty much Victor and Nikki scrambling like, "Okay, what do we do now?" And Victoria's like, "You gotta trust me. You guys don't trust me. Please let me do this." And I'm thinking like, "Girl, you cannot control other people. Only people that you can control are the ones who want to be controlled by you." Unfortunately, he didn't wanna do that, so that threw your plan out the window, but I guess because there's this tug of war between Adam and Victoria, I mean, she just had to prove the girl dad yeah, again, side eye on his narcissist comment, but, Victor's the man, right? He is the staple of the show. But the thing is that, Victoria wanted everybody, let me do it, I can do this." And unfortunately, her plan was falling apart. And that's what Adam was trying to tell, her and that whole conversation. Oh my gosh. Because as much as Victoria is trying to move this whole plan and make Adam the sacrificial lamb of her plan, when it came to conversations, he was left out of a couple of those. And when she decided once Ashland had said, "Oh, I don't want to plan evidence." Remember the conversation him and Sally, meaning Adam and Sally had, like, "It's too many holes in this plan. What if what if, Ashland decides that this is not what he wants to do? Then what?" And he was absolutely right. You gotta think 3 steps ahead. You can't assume that a person is gonna move the way you think they're gonna move, and especially somebody like Ashland Locke, right? Unfortunately, Victoria and the rest of them was like, don't worry about it. I got this. I'm going to continue to press on him." And she did. She tried to continue to insinuate to Ashton, like, "Oh, yeah, it's Adam. You know it's Adam. This is what he would do." And she started bringing up all these stories from the past. And I know it was part of her plan, but I'm looking at the TV like, let it go. Just let it go. He's not buying it. Plus, I know you want him to plant evidence, but he's telling you, "I don't wanna do that." And you continue to try to say, "Oh, yeah, it's Adam, it's Adam, it's Adam." I think she felt good saying it because she don't like Adam anyway. I don't care what she thinks about him being part of the family, and you gotta do what it takes to be part of the family. Yeah, okay, whatever. I side eye all of the Newmans, including Nick, especially Nick, when it comes to this whole thing with forgiveness for Adam, and even Adam said it to Sally, "What the French toast can I do to prove to these folks that" now, I mean, yes, there's a self-serving piece to this, right? But he's like, "What can I do to prove to these people that, um, I'm trying to help you guys out? I am part of the family, right?" See, and that's the thing I said in a previous podcast. You cannot prove anything to a person that don't wanna see your proof. You could turn yourself into an angel, and if the person doesn't buy the proof that you're showing, if the person don't wanna believe the proof that you're showing, or they're just stonewalling the proof that you're showing, guess what's gonna happen? Nothing. You're gonna be in the same position where they always have kept you in their mind. So, honestly, I wish Adam had a walked away from this. I wish he had a said, "Forget it. No, leave me alone. Don't use me now because you want me." And then when this is all over, then you're gonna, treat me like an outsider as usual. But no, he still continuously want to prove to his so-called family that he's worthy. Crazy. It's just crazy to me. Anywho, for a moment, I thought Adam was going to actually kind of step aside from this, but Sally keep pushing him back in, and I'm like, girl, I understand you trying to support him and stuff like that, but sometimes toxic environments you got to get out of. But anyway, it still makes for good TV because this is a soap. But anywho, then the conversation when he saw Victoria at the society, and she was sitting at the bar because, I guess at this point, Ashland had pretty much admitted that I'm not playing the evidence. I'm not going to fake anything. I'm not going to pursue Adam on this, but I might have to walk away. And of course, Victoria is like sulking because of the fact that her plan is crashing fast, and the fact that this man has pretty much she's allowed him to come in and do damage, right? However, Adam sits down to have a conversation with her, and he's just as nice, as cordial as he wants to be, as he usually is. And Victoria pretty much tells him, when I need to tell you more about what's going on, I'll let you know. And that set Adam off. And he said, you're a real piece of work. I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Because at some point, at what point does this girl stop being rude to not just him? She, for the last 2 years or so, she has been very vindictive to a lot of people. Very sneaky. She lied to her own father about the whole thing with Billy and Adam, which is how Adam lost his company. Not because he actually did anything, but because of the lie Victoria told in regard, or should I say, lie of omission, of what Victoria said about, oh my God, Adam was going to do this with Billy and he had him followed, and turn around, Billy was setting Adam up, and how is that a good leader? And instantly, dear old dad sold off his company to his sister. He didn't even do anything. So, I mean, now we're in a situation where Adam is like, just keep me in the loop. What's going on? What is Ashlyn doing? And because she was like, you know what, I tell you information when I think you should know. Adam was pissed. He was like, "You're a real piece of work." And that everything after that, I was just like looking at the TV with my mouth open and eyes wide, because this is the first time somebody has to say, "You can't just treat me like this. You using me. I gave myself up as a sacrificial lamb to be a part of letting this man set me up for fraud. And you can't give me 2 minutes of time to say what's going on." However, let's move on to the next part. So Adam says, okay, fine. Nobody wants to tell me what's going on. How about I come up with a plan myself? And what did Adam do? Adam went rogue. He didn't tell dear old dad. He didn't tell Nicholas, Victoria, or Nikki, because, hey, he's like, hey, y'all kept me out of the loop. Well, guess what? I'm finna do something major. I ain't got to tell you nothing. Now, the only problem with his plan is that the plan included the big sum amount of $500 million, which is a $500 million. Where are you going to get that from? So if you're going to get that from dear old dad, yeah, you probably should have talked to him first. But of course, they would have stonewalled him because they want Victoria to come out. They want her feelings to be coddled, and they want her to come out on top. And we're going to talk about that because Ashland kind of handed her a dose of reality when they had that conversation back at the hotel. Well, back to Adam. So Adam decides to offer Ashland a $500 million to leave town and to annul the marriage, which means that the marriage never existed. And so he met with Ashland. Ashland thought he was bluffing. Ashland goes to the other Newmans, and Victor played it like a fiddle because he could have went like, "I didn't do that. I didn't say that." He was like, "Oh yeah, the offer. It was great. What's the problem with it? Yeah, my son offered it. What are you gonna do about it?" And of course, Ashland is looking like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess you guys did make this plan." So he decides to think about it. And that's the problem with all of this. Because if you're not guilty, I don't know, that's a heck of a lot of money, right? But if you're not guilty, would you actually consider taking a bribe? Because that's what that is. I'm bribing you to get out of town and annul your marriage. But he's considering it. And Victoria is just livid. How could he do this? You went behind my back. You offered 500 million dollars. Nicholas is mad and Nikki is mad. And I'm like, what are you mad for? Because you guys were also having conversations behind his back, not telling him stuff. So now it's his turn. And yeah, I guess the only caveat is that $500 million. That's a ton of cash, right? Anywho, my issue with his main core Newmans, because I consider Abby and Adam the way they treat them as outsiders. Because I don't even think, as we saw a couple weeks ago, Abby don't even know what's going on right now. She's having a full, calm, cordial conversation with Ashland Locke, as you guys remember, with no issues. So, yeah, she doesn't know none of this stuff either. So that's what I'm saying. You got Victoria and Nick and everybody else. That's how I look at it. Anyway, but the thing is, there's still this deep part of Victoria that still loves Ashland. Ashland seems like, though, guys, and you let me know in the comments, it seems like Ashland actually truly is deeply in love with this woman. So, I mean, for him not to point evidence, because he could have went back to his old ways. That's who he is. I mean, we remember his previous frauds from childhood. But the fact that he decided to say, nope, I'm going to be on the up and up. I don't want to drag you down in this. Why don't we just, if I sign the contract over and release everything to back to your family, hey, would you go away with me? And we'll find out next week what her decision is in regards to whether she says yes to that, because that pretty much ended the end of this week. But I have to go back to the conversation that they had in the hotel suite, because while he was pondering about taking that $500,000, the conversation that they had at the hotel suite was pretty darn interesting. And she was like, "How could I forgive you for what you did to me? You used my love to do this and get the company." And Ashton said something very, very profound, because she was like, "How can I forgive you?" Ashton says, "The same way you can forgive me is when you took advantage of a man who was dying and decide to take his company, or your father who saw a man having a heart attack to pretty much sign over my company in the middle of something." So if you don't expect you expect me to well, Victoria meaning, So he was like, "So you need to forgive me pretty much how I forgave you." Because technically, when we kinda rewind back to 2021, when all of this came and the whole Tara and, Harrison situation was behind us, all this started with the whole situation of wanting Cyaxares and his heart attack, and, Victor is like, "Oh, you having a heart attack, huh? So, give me them keys to the company, and I'll call 911 for an ambulance for you. Sign right here." And then, of course, Victoria wasn't happy about that, but she kept that under her wrap, right? And then she came in the door before falling in love with him to also say, "Oh my God, you got cancer. I'm so sorry. You're on your deathbed. You're gonna need somebody to take over that company you have, the rest of your company. New Lock Industries. Hey, what's gonna happen to that? I can take your legacy into the future. You're dying, right? And you love me too, and you want to be with me, right? Oh, okay. How do we make this work?" Because she was pretty much thinking that I'm gonna get this company, which technically it is a takeover or merger, but she used it on the ideals that this man wasn't gonna be around for a while. I mean, in a while. So, uh, even though he reconcocted a plan, but everybody thought he was sick because he had all this fake medical, fake this, fake that, until Nate, as we all know later, exposed him. But um, I thought that was pretty interesting because you pretty much what she's pissed off at him for doing, she and her father did that to him in the beginning. So, yeah, and let's add this to it too. Adam said something pretty interesting. He was like, now, pretty much, the reason why this man is in our lives at this point is her fault. Technically, all of you guys is fault except for maybe Nick and Abby, because once, you guys were sold on him, y'all brought him into the fold, sold him a Tuscany, plateau, whatever you want to call it, and gave him the keys to the kingdom, whatever the situation was. Billy tried to warn you, Nick tried to warn you, and everybody was like, mind your own business. Y'all let the monster in. So you let the monster in, he tore up your house. Y'all manipulated the monster. Then after manipulating the monster, you let the monster in. And then you want to get mad that the monster tore up the house. I mean, seriously. Come on now. But my thing is, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. This man has a whole history of forging an inheritance. He took over the identity of his so-called best friend. He had nobody. He ran away from his parents because he said his parents was abusive. You get somebody who befriended you, and you knew he had a big job or big career on the horizon. So you guys in an accident, you like, okay, I'm gonna kill off my original Bobby DeFranco. I think that was his name. You guys correct me in the comments. We're gonna kill off my old identity and we're gonna take on Ashland Locke. I mean, seriously. So, at what point did they think bringing this monster, the sociopathic monster of a character, not Robin Newman, the character, bringing this character into the fold was going to bring great results? This man came in once he realized he was able to have co ownership with Victoria. He started firing people, hiring folks, bringing folks on, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You dying soon, aren't you? Aren't you sick? What's the problem? You shouldn't be making any decisions. You're just in name theory. That's not your job." I mean, it's like, come on now. You actually think a man that's just gonna sign up for co-CEO is gonna be in name only? Yeah, okay. But y'all brought the monster in, sociopathic monster. Y'all brought him in. He wreaks havoc. He tears up the house. Everybody's in shambles, scrambling, and you're mad at the monster. You gotta also be mad because you gave him the access. Y'all gave him the access to come in. Nick went all the way to New Jersey to find this information. He came back with that information, and Victor was like, "Leave it alone. Your sister's getting married. Stay away from here. Don't come to the wedding." Even Victoria was pissed. If I was Nick, I'd be like, "You know what? Cool. You ain't got to ask me twice." So, yeah, there's no way. And then even Adam, as much as Adam is trying to be the guy that's like, helping him, he was right there with Gaines trying to stop him from telling the truth. So it's like, are you going along to get along? I mean, one moment you all in, next moment it's like, no, we got to get this monster out of here. Okay. My problem with this whole Adam thing is that no matter what he does, it doesn't mean anything to the movie. It's not, and especially that he should have known that, which is what he said in the office. He said, I can't even get, I gave up a freaking kidney. Shouldn't that tell these people something? I mean, he saved Faith's life 3 times. He saved Nick's life down when they were in that tornado last year. He could have left him up under the rubble. He left to go get help. And the dude is here. Nick, you're here because of your brother. Your daughter is here because of your brother. And it's never enough. That's why I'm like, dude, you got to walk away from these people. Start your own. Especially because, I mean, Victor has been stonewalling them. How could you do this to your sister? You're trying to take your sister down. I'm like, his sister gives as good as she gets. She's been mean, vindictive, talked down to people. I mean, even before Ashland came in, she tried to break up Lily and Billy, using the kids, all this type of stuff. So she is no shrinking violet. But anywho, so yeah, it was a pretty crazy week. This week, he did finally accept Adam's deal. Now, as of Friday, we haven't seen whether he has signed the paperwork, but it looks like, he's trying to talk Victoria into running off with him. And it looks like, from what we saw on Friday, unless she has a plan, that she might run away with him. So we'll have to wait and see for the week of the 18th what's going to happen with that. But it was a pretty crazy week. It was pretty good. Sometimes we'll get weeks where it's like blah, 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 blah. But this week it was pretty good because we actually got a little bit of Diane. We got a lot of Ashland, a lot. So, yeah, pretty much the cliffhanger that they left us on Friday was the whole thing of whether or not, Victoria's going to say yes, or maybe she did, and she's lying, she got a plan, or is she actually going to leave? So, we'll have to wait and see. We saw the previews though for the week of the 18th, where looked like Victoria's in an accident. We see Diane. What's going to happen with that? So we'll have to wait and see. So that's all I have for the Young and the Restless. We have to now jump into The Bold and the Beautiful. So I'm going to get to the recap of that in 1 second because my page is tweaking. All right. So let's jump into the Bold and the Beautiful for the week of um, April 11th. Let's see. So for the week of April 11th, we had Sheila stood on a ledge crying out to fans. Taylor slipped over the edge while helping Sheila. Ridge bargained with God for Steffi's life. Um, Ridge anxiously questioned Steffi about the shooting, and Steffi wakes up. So we didn't have but one storyline this week. We actually got to see, which I'm going to briefly talk about that first. But we only had one storyline this week with the Bold and the Beautiful. And it all was around the shooting of Steffi, Finn's death, and Sheila Carter. But before we kind of unpack all of that, I want to talk about this whole thing with that was pretty interesting toward Thursday and Friday of this week, where we saw Zende and Paris. They seem really chummy. Now, last we remember, we saw Paris sleeping with Carter not only once but twice. And her mom was trying to blackmail, I guess, um, Carter that, hey, you continue to hang around my daughter, I'm going to tell the Foresters, and you already messed up once dealing with Quinn. And that's where they left us. Probably was it back in maybe February, March, okay? But they came up to the hospital together. They looked like nothing's happening. And then they even kind of hugged and held each other. And I'm like, okay, what's going on right here? And then she had a moment where she was kind of like reminiscing on her thoughts of Finn. Because as you guys remember, Finn was on her mind all the time. At some point, she fantasized about kissing Finn and being with Finn while living in Steffi's house. But of course, she removed herself from the situation. I guess the writers was like, nah, we're not going to go down that road. Because everybody was having a problem with it in the comment section. I don't blame them because I was like, that's ridiculous. It makes her look like a hypocrite, especially how she was very self righteous with some of the other characters on the show. So they had to change that tune. They even tried a little bit with Thomas, but that didn't last long. And then they moved her over to this whole triangle with Carter, which I still think is stupid. But I just found it pretty interesting that her and Zende was pretty, you know, pretty close with each other this week. I mean, they came up there together. That don't look like somebody who has been sleeping with another man to me. I mean, it's just my thought. But I found that interesting. Let me know in the comment section, you guys, especially on my YouTube side. Let me know what you think about that. I thought that was pretty interesting. All right. So let's talk about Sheila. So Sheila Carter is so distraught because at this point, Steffi has not opened her eyes yet. She's still comatose. And she keep reliving what happened in that alley and the fact that she shot her own son to death, which is, whew, that's rough. I couldn't imagine. I have a 22-year-old son and a daughter. God, that would be devastating. So I would assume for somebody as sociopathic as she is, I'm assuming that could be devastating to her too. Anywho, she decides, especially after people giving her a hard time, Ridge kept shutting her down. We saw Lee pretty much wrote her off and says, no, I'm his mother. You're nothing. I raised him. You walked away. she decides to have a conversation. Thomas accused her of, did you have a part of this shooting? What do you know? I still know what I know about Brooke. And that's another thing. That whole storyline is off in the corner now. And I think this is just the way that Jacqueline McInnes Woods, who plays Steffi, because she is pregnant in real life, and I noticed she's due this month. This is probably her exit strategy on maternity leave. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Especially now that she has woken up toward the end of the week. But anywho, um, but yeah, they were really questioning her, and so Taylor walked in when Thomas was grilling her, and this was the opportunity for pretty much Sheila to run off. And she ran right to the roof, and Taylor followed her. And on the roof, she's standing on the edge of the hospital building because she's like, I gotta end it. These people gonna find out that it was me. I don't want to face the music. Because if this girl wakes up, she gonna spill all the tea on what happened in that alley. And I don't want to be here for it. That's pretty much what Sheila's head was. She wanted to delete herself. I can't say the other word on YouTube. They will get you for that. So she tried to self-delete. And so, in the process of this whole conversation she's having in her head, Taylor shows up to stop her from jumping. So they have this back and forth, and Taylor put her psychologist or psychiatrist hat on to talk Sheila out of it. And you got a grandson here, you need to be there for him, and don't leave, don't do this to yourself. And in the process of Sheila trying to jump, Taylor grabbed her, and she ended up flipping over the building hanging by a thread. And I tried to watch that scene at least 2 or 3 times to say, "How the heck did that happen?" Because both of them, especially if Sheila was trying to jump, she shoulda went too, which tells me Sheila really didn't wanna jump, because if she got ready to jump and Taylor grabbed her, both of them woulda went. Thank God they didn't. But I will and I'm gonna stop right here for a quick second. I gotta give shout out and kudos to CBS Network for, and I can't say the word, for mental health awareness and self-deletion advocacy. If you need to talk to someone, they had a phone number at the end of that particular episode. So, I like the fact that CBS does do specific storylines to give awareness to different things. They do it on both shows, so I thought that was pretty cool. Anywho, so the thing is that you know they left us on a cliffhanger, and I think that was Wednesday's episode where we happened to see Taylor, you know, begging Sheila to save her life. And we came back the next day and Sheila pulled her back over, and now Taylor is indebted to her. And I'm like, well, I understand she saved your life, but she almost got rid of your daughter. She got rid of her son, unfortunately by mistake. But this is going to be a huge storyline when this all comes out, because how do you play that out? It's not like you redeemed yourself, because you still shot your son, but does that play out when it comes to um, Taylor almost losing her life and she saves it versus Steffi being in the hospital in a coma? So I'm curious to see what direction the writers are going to take this, because right now Taylor is like her guardian angel to Sheila Carter. And later in the week we saw how Steffi opened her eyes, and she's now awake, and She knows nothing. And the biggest smile came across Sheila's face when they asked her, "Do you remember who shot you?" And she was like, "No." The relief on Sheila Carter's face, because she was trying to stop them like, "I was a nurse, so, you don't need to rush the patient because she's still trying to heal." And Ridge was not trying to hear. "Shut up, nobody's talking to you." And I'm like, "Oh," because the moment Steph saw Sheila, and Steph was like, "Oh no, Sheila's in here." Sheila was shaking in her boots because she didn't know whether or not Steph was going to say, yeah, she did it. It was more of Steph just not liking Sheila being there. So my question is, and I guess we'll see more next week, is do she remember Finn getting shot? Or I guess if she don't remember who shot her, she's probably not going to remember Finn even being dead or alive. You probably think, "Oh God, I hate to see what happened when they tell her that information. That's going to be crazy." But yeah, Sheila was definitely very, 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 very relieved. You know. In the meantime, before woke up, we saw Liam, and I'm like, "Liam, don't go there." And I know that, this is your daughter's mom. You had a kid with Steph, so you're feeling some kind of way. But please, writers, don't bring us back into this whole Steffi Hope triangle, because Liam is always Captain Sable. That's why they call him the Waffler. Because when one of these two girls, if he's with one and the other is in distress, he will try to save them. If he's now back with the other one and the other girl goes into distress, guess what he's going to do? He's going to try to save them. So please, writers, we've been dealing with this since 2012. Please give us a break with this whole triangle. We finally got a break in 2020 when Finn came along. Please don't take us back down that rabbit hole. We already are dealing with Brooke and Taylor. Let's not fight over Riz. Let's not have, you know, Steffi, especially with Finn being gone. Let's not have Steffi, Liam, and Hope all over again. Please save us from that. Um, but you know, I can't imagine, when your child, in this case, Liam's daughter, her mom is in the hospital bed. Hayes has lost his father. This is going to be a real mess next week. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's up. I will say everybody's excited. I think they were pushing too hard. I mean, I'm surprised Bridget didn't tell them, like, look, stop asking her something. Let her brain heal. She just came out of, being unconscious for like, what, 3 or 4 days? Let her brain heal before you start asking her 20 questions, right? So, not for Sheila's sake, but just for her sake. I mean, seriously, give her a break. She opened her eyes 10 minutes ago and you already asking questions. But I know they want to know. Um, but as we saw on Friday, at this point, she don't remember, and Sheila's relieved, which is fine. And she's going to look like she's going to slowly make a recovery, right? But with the recovery, I'm wondering, is it going to be long term, or are we going to get is Steph? Well, again, we got to think about Steph's maternity leave. So I mean, Jacqueline's maternity leave. So is that going to have Steph go off for a while? Is she gonna remember and then leave, or maybe something else? I'm kind of curious to see what the writers are going to do in regards to that situation of whether or not they're going to, how they're going to continue this thing. I mean, is Sheila just going to roam the town carrying this huge secret? Now, here's the other thing. She got to remember that Thomas still holds the secret with Brooke in New Year's Eve. So she's not completely scot free as of yet. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this is all gonna play out. It's gotta be good because I mean, are they not gonna find out 10 years from now? Which I don't think they're gonna go that long. But are we gonna find out down the road or in the next couple of weeks that everything's gonna come out? Because the other biggest part of this is changing the family's mind about Sheila Carter. And it started with Taylor. And then Taylor also broke down and told the story to Ridge about how Sheila saved, her life. And the whole thing about her self-deletion attempt and her being on the roof and she slipped and she went over and Sheila pulled her over to save her life. And so Ridge is looking at her like, you did that? So I don't know if they're going to all now get a real true appreciation for Sheila and then the bottom falls out when the truth comes out, So I'm here for it. I mean, we haven't had a really good storyline in a long time because it always had been about these triangles on the Bold and Beautiful with somebody's fighting over somebody, right? I do miss Wyatt, Bill. Maybe we'll get to see a lot more Bill. Who knows? I know a couple of folks were saying maybe they'll put Bill back with Steffy again since Finn is no longer in the picture. That would be interesting because I was interested in that storyline several years back. So I don't know about you. Let me know what you think. Do you think they should put Bill and Steffi another attempt back together? But I don't know. I think that's kind of creepy now because Liam has a child with her. So I mean, it's a soap, but I don't know. That would be kind of creepy. I mean, your grandfather is with your mother, Kelly, that is. Yeah, that's not a good look. So I don't know. I just don't want them to go back to the whole Liam Hope triangle. So, like I said, with this storyline, it's a lot more analytical and convoluted, and it's just really interesting to see how this is all going to play out, and we don't have who's fighting over what person in this right now. So, I'm assuming they're gonna bring back what happened with Brooke, and we still got that other storyline out there with Carter and Zende and Paris. Like I said, they looked real chummy this week. She doesn't look like a woman that has been sleeping with somebody else. And then when they said, "Oh, Carter is on his way up here," I was like, "Oh, maybe they're gonna show something," but we never got to see Carter this week. So we'll have to wait. We have to wait until they all come out. But pretty interesting week with both shows. Um, I think they're doing a better job with the writing because I mean, a few years back, I was looking like, what is going on? So both shows really have some really good dramatic content, and I'm really um I'm really happy about that because it keeps it interesting. Now I really look forward to it. But some days it's like, oh, they talking about Abby and Chance again. Oh, because that storyline went on way too long. I was so over it. Um, but yeah, we got some good ones, so I'm excited. All right. So the last part of our show is the flip the script segment. And so what that is that if there's a particular storyline or a scene that we wish we could change, this is where we flip. the script. Okay, so this week for the Young and the Restless, my flip the script would have been the whole situation with um, Adam, which he did go on his own. But once he was done with whatever his plan is, he need to just move on. Stop doing things to try to prove to his family that he is worthy of their acceptance. I hate that. It's one thing if people are actively vetting you for acceptance, they don't want it. Because I mean, like I said, giving away a kidney and saving somebody's life, your brother and your niece. At what point do you not get it? Now, granted, Adam has done some crazy things in his past, depending on which Adam you pick, because there's been 4 or 5 of them. But I mean, at what point do these people like let it go? So if I was Adam, I'm like, you know what? I help you with this plan, get this man out of here, but after that, I'm done. I would be so done. And me and his girlfriend, Adam and his girlfriend Sally just ride off into the sunset and start their own fashion house or media company or something, separate away from the Newmans because they're never going to gain their respect. Never. All right, on the bold and the beautiful. This one was pretty hard for me to do a flip the script because it's like, man, what would I change? Because if you want Steffi to call Sheila out, that pretty much ends the storyline. And then boom, she goes to jail and that's it. And then what do we have, right? So if I had to pick something, I don't know. Um, Gosh, like I said, this week was tough because usually it's like right at the top of my mind on what I would choose. And you guys, you can drop, and especially on the YouTube side, you can drop in the comment section what you would change in each of these soaps for this week if you wanted somebody to do something different. But I would say the only thing is, and I mean, even if you tell Sheila to kind of tell Ridge, stop talking to me like that. But you also got to realize Ridge don't like her for many reasons. So that would be hard for her to say, listen, I know you mad and I know you upset and you may not like me, but please don't talk to me like you talk. But they don't know what she did yet, so that's gonna be kind of tough. Um, I don't know. This is a tough one. I can't tell Liam not to be so in tune with Steffi because that's his daughter's mother. And I don't think Hope, she definitely didn't get in the way because Hope also had a conversation with Steffi. I don't know. That's interesting because they always are rivaling against each other, but Hope was definitely there for that moment. And saying how she's going to look after the kids and all that stuff. So it's hard for me to pick something. Unless we could have saw Bridget a lot more. Hopefully Bridget stays on, especially with Deacon in town. That would be pretty interesting. Excuse me. That would be pretty interesting with Deacon in town if that's going to bring back some old stuff. He already kissed Brooke on New Year's Eve, and now Bridget finds out that there is tension between Brooke and Ridge. Hey, maybe that'll bring back some stuff. We also saw this week too where Brooke is like, I'm still your wife, so don't get it twisted. I'm here. We still married. I'm like, you had to get that in right now. But then she did walk away out of respect of, Taylor and Thomas and, being that Steffi is their family daughter. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have this week. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, especially on the YouTube side. And if you enjoy these recaps, I'm seeing the numbers go up on YouTube and I'm loving it. So I'm glad you enjoying the content, um, in regards to the previous week. So we're gonna end it right here. And hopefully, now next weekend I will be out of town. It's my birthday weekend. So I don't know, we'll figure out something to make sure we provide the content for the week of April 18th through the 22nd. And we'll see. So until then, on the YouTube side, please like the video. It helps YouTube and their algorithms to show that you guys really enjoy the content. Drop comments as well because they also will. I like to engage with you guys and kind of chit chat and talk. And subscribe. I see some of you folks on the YouTube side. The numbers are going up, so you guys are absolutely subscribing. I appreciate that. On my podcast side, Anchor followers, thank you so much from around the globe on listening to the content every week. You were my bread. You are, not were, the bread and butter of this whole CBS Soap Dish recap content we provide because you started with us 3 seasons ago. So we really appreciate you coming back every week and showing us some love by listening to the content. So until the next recap, we will see you soon. Bye, guys.